Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of Richard Skipper Celebrates. Who or what are you celebrating today? Well, I'm celebrating the fact that a week from tonight, I will be returning to the Laurie Beechman Theater, and I cannot wait. From what I understand, it's selling very well, so if you are planning on coming, make sure you get your tickets right away if you don't already. And, it's interesting because in this business, even when you are doing a one-person show, you're not doing a one-person show because I have an incredible director, James Beeman. I have an incredible musical director, Dan Pardo. And of course, there's the team of people at the Laurie Beechman Theater who are all working to make sure that everything falls into place. And that's the theme of today's show. Unity in our art. What does that mean to you, the listener who's watching here? How does your unity come through in terms of the art that you're creating, the interaction between you and an audience, and everything else that's going on in your career beyond what the audience sees? And that's what we're going to talk about today. I have 5 incredible artists all waiting in the wings. Nobody knows who I'm bringing on first. I don't even know who I'm bringing on first. I'm going to push a button and see who pops up. And here she is, Mariann Aalda.
Right. And alphabetically, I just happen to be first too, right?
That's right. So how are you today?
I'm great, Richard. How are you? When I was listening to you do the intro and you talked about unity, when I hear unity, I think of community. That's really what it means to me. When you were talking about all the people that you work with to bring together a production, there's that. And I think that's the great thing about what it is that we do as artists. We get to create, even though it might be just for that production, a family. We have to, in order for everything to work well, we have to support one another. And when I'm not doing it now, but I had acting students when I was teaching for the Negro Ensemble Company. The one thing that I would insist upon to my is that as an actor, you are in a service profession. This is a service industry. We're here to serve our audience, to serve the writer and the characters and the storytelling, to serve the director, to serve our fellow actors we are having dialogue with. And at the end of the day, we have to serve the producer because he's the one who's got his money in it.
Well, I have to tell you, and as corny as this is going to sound to everyone watching out there, and I swear this is the truth, every morning when I sit down at my desk with my cup of coffee, before I turn my computer on, I say out loud, how can I be of service today? And I think of that in terms of how I respond to the emails I get, how I respond to every aspect of this. But you've had this incredible career, and you and I were talking the other day. I have a little clip I'd like to share with everyone, if you don't mind, because this is one of my favorite clips of you among many. So here it is.
I've been a woman and Black all my life, but not even that prepared me for the discrimination I would face once I got to be old. For more than 30 years, I made my living as an actress, but when I turned 50, and the casting director stopped calling, and my agent suggested that I gain 50 pounds so that I could do more character work, my response was, oh, hell no. So, I redirected my natural actor's curiosity into becoming a hypnotherapist. Most of my clients were women my age suffering from depression, and I soon came to realize that they'd already been hypnotized into believing that women lose value and sexual currency as we got older. And then a funny thing happened. The positive suggestions that I gave my clients snapped me out of my own trance. Give up a career that I love and that I'm good at because I'm too old? Oh, hell no. So, after 30 years of working in television, I went back to my roots of live performing and reinvented myself as a performance artist and, drum roll please, stand-up comic. Now, I'm casting a new spell with a positive message about the vibrancy, vitality, and viability of women of all ages. Oh, hell yeah!
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. And but this has been a few years that you've been on this platform.
Yeah, you can tell my hair is different.
No, but you just, for me, you look incredible. What does aging mean to you? And how does that process in the business with how aging is filtered through the eyes of what I call the gatekeepers?
Ah, interesting that you should talk about the gatekeepers. The industry is changing totally now with AI and all the things that are happening. But a big thing that's happening is that when I first experienced ageism in the industry when I was 50 something. I celebrated a birthday a couple weeks ago. I'm now 77. And I had made a great living as an actor. Where you heard my story on the little AARP video profile that they did of me. When I became a hypnotherapist, I spent a year in training at the Hypnosis Motivation Institute in Tarzana. Most of my clients were women from the Tarzana Encino community, well-to-do, well-educated women. But at midlife, they were suffering from depression. And I discovered that the through line was that I didn't have to hypnotize them, but to dehypnotize them from the trance that we were all under, that women lose value with age, and men too, as a matter of fact. Mm-hmm. Well, when I was 50 something 20 years ago, in that 20 years since then, the baby boomers are still here, and Gen X, which is my son's age, my son is 51, he is now in middle age. So now there is this big mass of humanity that is older. As a matter of fact, there are more people on the planet over the age of 65 than under the age of 5 right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and if there's one thing that the entertainment industry can't ignore, it's money. And the older demographic has been ignored for so long now that Hollywood hasn't built enough cogs that can turn that particular wheel of commerce. And we can, because we've stayed relevant, we've stayed involved, we didn't leave. You're doing your own shows. I'm producing, my own shows. I produced a show with Iona Morris, Moist, which is an acronym for the Multiple Orgasm Initiative for Sexual Transformation.
I love it.
And I have my own solo show, Getting Old as a Bitch, but I'm going to wrestle that bitch to the ground. And all of these productions speak to my generation, speak to my peers. It also speaks to the younger generation, because I think when it comes to, you talk about unity, the common denominator for everyone, I don't care your gender, your race, your religion, the common denominator of all of us is that we're all going to get old. If you're lucky.
If we're lucky. I want to, Mariann, I want to bring on our next guest. Actually, you're going to help me bring on our next guest. We have 3 baby boomers. I think we have 3 baby boomers. And we have 1 Gen Xer waiting in the wings. Okay. So pull a number 1 through 4, and we'll see who our next guest is.
Number 3.
And I am meeting this guy for the first time. Before I bring him on, let's get a sample of his music.
When you said you were going out tonight, 'cause I thought you'd always be around. And all that you said you were hanging out with your friends. I never thought you let me down. Believe it or not, I was on top of the rainbow. Can't you see? Didn't you see it was me? And all of the times you said, baby, please, and the times I said, maybe, seems we never could agree. Well, I never understood when you said you were leaving, 'cause I thought you'd always be around. And after you left, I had a hard time accepting that you'd gone. I wondered if I let you down. Believe it or not, I was on top of the rainbow. Can't you see? Didn't you see it was me? And all of the times you said, baby, please, and the times I said, maybe, seems we never could agree. And I believe when you told me we don't lose, be together till the end. Now who's a fool? Now some time has erased all those tears, both those memories burn inside, and they bring back all those fears. Believe it or not, I was on top of the rainbow. Can't you see? Didn't you see it was me? And all of the times you said, baby, please, and the times I said, maybe, seems we never could agree.
Tom, I have to tell you, I'm a fan.
Oh, thank you.
And I want to make sure I get this. It's Tom Ciurczak.
Perfect.
I
Perfect.
got it?
You got it.
Great. So what was the impetus for this song?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I think that every album has to have a love song on it, so I needed a love song for the album. And I've been writing songs for a long time, and that one I actually wrote a long time ago, and I kind of updated it a little bit. Um, but it's you know, a lament, a breakup lament. Your girlfriend leaves you and you don't understand why she leaves you, or your boyfriend leaves you and you don't understand. Had to write one. Most of my songs are complete story songs, but I always think you have to have at least one love song in everything you do.
Well, Tom, how long have you been writing music and how long have you been actually performing your own music?
Oh, great question. By the way, thank you for not having me as the lead off on this whole, because I think Mariann was perfect as the lead off.
Yes.
I really do. Um, so my epiphany came February 9th, 1964. And that's what I like to refer to as the Big Bang. And that's when the Beatles hit Ed Sullivan. And me and a million other kids all decided that's what we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, when I was growing up, there was a lot of phenomenal guitar players, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be that good on guitar. And there was a lot of tremendous singers, and I'm like, okay, check that box. I'm not going to be a tremendous singer, but they're going to need songwriters. So around the age of 12, I started writing songs, and I went through the whole thing where I played in high school garage bands and college bands and stuff like that. But then, I had to raise a family. I moved out from upstate New York to the West Coast, and I still did a lot of songwriting, but I didn't do any performing. And then as I hit those later years, I went to a couple of music camps, and I went to this music camp by a guy named Steve Earle, who's kind of a outlaw country on the dial. And I like to say I met my lost tribe because there was like 100 songwriters there. And it kind of was the impetus to get me believing that I could actually go a little bit further with my songwriting than I had. So when we were leaving, everybody's handing us their albums and CDs. And I'm like, I don't have an album or CD to hand anybody. So that inspired me to go out and well, I'm going to have to go get this stuff recorded. And, when you talk about unity, I mean, I look at it as team building. It's like, I'm going to need a team if I'm going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the first thing about doing this. But my daughter had an a cappella group in Los Angeles, and we were sitting around at dinner one night, and she said, well, I have a guy that's our engineering for our group. Let me introduce you to him. And so we went out and we hit it off, and he brought in a guy that was a drummer who wound up being a producer. And the three of us have been the core team through 6 albums now, because it's like potato chips. You just can't eat one. Once you get started, you're going to have to do a couple more. So, and besides, my son was saying it was a vanity project. And I'm like, I'll show you it's no vanity project. And, but as it goes along and you see this seed that you created come to life as a full-blown song, then you get faced with, well, now I'm going to have to perform it. So then I had to go out and use my skill set to put together a band and how to meet all the local musicians, because I used different musicians than I did to record with, to create a performing band. And then you have to go into all the marketing aspects of it as well, which are, again, these are all teams, which is all
Mm-hmm.
part of your unity theme. You need PR people, you need radio people, and all of this is all of these channels come together to create that push that you're trying to, with that basic little song, that music sculptor that you did way back in the beginning. All of a sudden 2 years later, you have to have the recording engineer, recording producer, performing team, the PR people, the radio people, the managers, the booking people. Oh my goodness, what a development process but I couldn't have done it with everybody, and you have to get a good team.
That's
And
right.
I will tell you the trick, and everybody probably knows this, maybe they don't, but
Mm-hmm.
you got to hire people and surround yourself with people that are better than you.
I absolutely agree with that. And I do want to say, and I want to bring on our next guest, there are 3 women waiting in the wings, and all 3 of these women are at the top of their game, and they are constantly reinventing themselves. And that's what the 3 of them have in common that I love so much. But Tom, you're going to bring the next guest on. Just think Monty Hall, and we're old enough to remember that. Door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3?
Oh, fantastic. Let's split the difference. Let's go with door number 2.
Well, I am thrilled that you asked for her. She has a new show coming up on the 3rd of June. She has a show called Sneak Peek. Let's take a sneak peek at that, and then we'll talk with her. Women of Jazz. Goldie Dver came up with this great idea of giving, I like to call it a poo-poo platter. A poo-poo platter of talent that she builds around a theme. I think I've seen all of your sneak peek shows.
I think you've been there, yes, for all
And
of
I'm
them.
hoping to see the next one as well. And you now are going to be celebrating Women of Jazz. Do you consider yourself a jazz singer?
In all honesty, no. I think there's a fine distinction between a true jazz singer and someone like me. I can sing in a jazz style, but I would not call myself a jazz singer. The same way when I was really auditioning a lot for musicals, and I was a singer who moved well. I could do combinations, I could do it, but I would no way call myself a dancer. I knew too many real Broadway dancers to ever, I never like to pretend I'm something I'm not.
Now, one thing that Goldie and I have in common is our teams.
Yes.
We have the same musical director and we have the same director. What is it about James Beeman, director, and Dan Pardo that makes it the perfect team for you?
Well, I have been working with Jamie as a collaborator and director, and we've been friends since 1997. So is that what, 30, almost 30 years?
Mm-hmm.
Originally, the collaboration was my husband, Paul Dver, and Jamie and myself. Paul was music director, Jamie was director, and I was the lucky girl who got to work with them. And after Paul passed away, I had actually stopped performing for 12 years, and Paul passed away, and Jamie really encouraged me to come back to singing. And doing that first show back and a good therapist was what got me through that first year in a very healthy way. Jamie is one of the most exceptional people I know. He is one of those multi-talented men. He is first and foremost an amazing actor in his own way, but that also spills over into his directing. We collaborate. The way our shows usually start, the concept comes from me, but Jamie and I talk about it and we start to focus that concept, and then we start to build song lists and start to shape the show, which is how we did our Anthony Newley tribute. When we brought Dan in, and Jamie introduced me to Dan, and Dan is amazing. We brought Dan in, and it really became a true three-way collaboration because Dan started to put his magic into the mix. Very creative, talented man, and arranger, just brilliant. So the collaboration of Jamie, myself, and Dan is just that magic potion. The personalities work, the talent, everyone respects each other's talent, and it's a safe zone. I always say no idea is bad. Always throw it out there. And Jamie taught me to never say no to a suggestion or an idea.
Liza Minnelli once said that as much as she loved being in front of an audience, the rehearsal studio was where the real magic happens.
Yeah.
And I believe that. I had a rehearsal this morning with James and Dan, and it's like fireworks every time the three of us are together. And I love
Absolutely,
that. So,
absolutely.
but Goldie, you're going to bring on our next guest, and there are two women, and I think you know both of them. You can pull one by name, or you can pull a number, one or two.
Let's say number two.
And that is my dear friend, Mary Lahti. I know she was having trouble before. Can you hear me, Mary?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Thank you. So,
thank you, Goldie.
Mary and I have known each other for a long, long time. It goes back to when we hosted Wednesday night at the Iguana. And then I will tell you, years ago, I got booked in Provincetown. I tell this story all the time. Mary and her husband, Jim, came to Provincetown. They read every single show of mine. And costume malfunction. She was jumped up on the stage with needle and thread and helped with the costume. So, Mary, what is it about you putting a team together for your shows?
It's coming from a place where I was pretty much on stage, because I started off in theater, where everything is separated. You have your audience in one place and you're on stage and you're separated, and your collaboration is only on stage. And the very first musical I ever did was Anything Goes. And it was then that I realized this is what I wanted to do, because everybody was respectful of each other. Everybody covered each other's back, no matter what. And that's what I saw as part of the whole unity aspect of, is not one person shined, everyone was supposed to shine. And I started to learn that throughout. When I see the Rockettes, everyone works together so that everybody shines and tries to make it. And Becca,
well, speaking of everybody shining, look at this picture I found. There you are, is Nellie Forbush. Everyone, she's not the one in the grass skirt.
Thank you.
Yes. So your last show, which was brilliant.
Thank you.
I told you this, and I truly mean this. And I think you won a slew of awards or nominations for that show. Was all about the mishaps of this business. And I don't know what your tenacity is or what kept you going, but just to give a little hint of the show, Mary had all of these near misses in her career, getting cast, and then them saying, well, we're going to have you understudy the person that was cast and that kind of thing. But you made a great, incredible evening of theater out of this.
I have this, I think one thing that keeps me surviving throughout our lives is a sense of humor. And nothing hasn't been easy, granted, but I'm always growing. Just like I feel like, you can't put a label on things. I learned you shouldn't put label on things, because then that makes it a thing. Mm-hmm. So if you're having a bad day, or you're something that is not, you're just struggling, you let it happen. You let your thoughts come out, but you just let that happen, let it flow, and then move on. It's all about moving on. How do I make it better? So Becca, who's going to be on, well, all of you probably understand the whole idea, like in improv, yes, and. So you use the yes, this is happening. Yes, this is how I feel. And what am I going to do about it? Am I going to just let myself rest, or am I going to look forward and do something different? Or what's next, rather than just sit and let all of these negative things pop into your head. So that's pretty much what helps me. And again, sense of humor, to move on and try to figure out how to work things out.
That's great. You mentioned Becca, and she's been waiting patiently. Let's get her out here. I will say what I love about Becca, not only as an entertainer, but as an audience member. Becca, cannot begin to tell you how many shows that I go to that Becca is in the audience. And I say this without the utmost love for you, Becca. Even if I don't see you when I am there, I know you're there because you have the greatest laugh in all of cabaret.
Well, that's one thing I was always, from the time I was in college, I was told that people knew that I was in the audience, and I knew that was a gift, because, well, I was a theater major, and I recognized that theater's a give and take. It's not just one way, and we're giving energy as an audience as well as the performers giving energy to the audience. And so that it's not a one-way transaction. And that's what I try to be in the audience. I try to be a positive force in the audience to give energy to the performers, because it's talking about unity. It's 100% give and take all the way around.
And you succeeded that. I want to build upon something Mariann has talked about and has made a platform. What keeps you going in a business that is constantly changing, and as we all, everyone in this room right now, and all of us, if we're lucky enough to age into this business, what keeps you going in terms of all the changes and things that we're dealing with pretty much on a daily basis?
I think trying new things, and for me, that's a lot of seeing and asking what's next. Because I mean, I really Gen X here,
Okay.
and the turning 50 thing. I was asking, am I doing the right thing? Am I in the right place? Am I doing the right thing for turning 50? I mean, I am going to be releasing an album next year, but at the same time, I was like, am I doing this all right? Am I where I'm supposed to be? Am I doing this right? There's no guidebook for. You get a guidebook when you go to college. You get a guidebook for when you're in high school, but you don't get a guidebook for when you're middle-aged. And
well, the wonderful thing about this business is that we all have the ability to break the rules.
Mhm.
We all have the ability to make our own direction, and I think that to me is the key. I don't want to do what everyone else has already done. I want to reinvent the wheel every time I step out there, and so that's what it's about. Becca, tell us about the projects that you've got coming up, and then I've got some questions that I'm going to ask each of you about unity in your own art. So, Becca, what's coming up for you?
Sure. So on June 8th, I have a variety show coming up, which is a combination of comedians and musicians that I'm hosting. And it's all-star talent. These are incredibly talented comedians and musicians, and I'm very blessed to have each one of them on the show. And it's at the Whiskey Cellar, and it's free with a 1-drink minimum, and it's at 5:30, again at the Whiskey Cellar. You can get tickets on my website.
And I'll have the details on
yes.
my YouTube channel as well.
Yes. And then on June 12th, I'm doing a musical improv show. And then on June 14th, I'm part of a tribute to William Finn. And
oh, wow.
I wanted to be part of that just because his music meant so much to me. And
that's great.
You can find all those details on my website.
So everyone, I am a real proponent of Julian Cameron's The Artist Way. I read her daily. I do my morning pages daily. These questions are based on things that I've read this week. So I've got individual questions for each of you. And I'm going to start with you, Mariann. When was the last time that you experienced something live that stirred your soul, made you laugh, or connected you, or made you feel that you were truly connected to this community, whatever that means for you? And you mentioned community early on.
Yeah, I did. Interestingly enough, it was live because it was live in the moment, although it was on Zoom. And it was just yesterday. I decided that I wanted to be in an acting class. And this is a class that is in California. And I just decided I wanted. And as I was watching the actors doing their monologues, I felt this sense of community of, these are my brethren, these are my people. And we just allowing ourselves to be vulnerable and also wanting to continue to do good work. I've been in this business forever, but from time to time you kind of like need a booster shot. Mm-hmm. And so that was a booster shot for me. And something I really want to say this to you, girl. The thing because I'm way past 50, but I remember 50 very well. And I think for women, especially, puberty menopause. Those are two awkward stages for women. When you're going through puberty, you're not a kid anymore, but you're not a grown-up. And menopause, you're not young anymore, but you're not an elder. So it's just an awkward age, and you'll be fine. Just, go through it. Trust that it's kind of like a relearning, a reevaluating, all the kind of crazy stuff that happened to you when you were 13. It's, when you're through period.
In reverse.
Now that it's ending, it's the same thing.
Just in reverse.
That's great. Tom, how do you personally define unity in your own art? And when it comes to your creative work, how does that also spill over into your private life?
Whoa. Let's think. From a creative standpoint, I mean, I view myself more as a songwriter than anything else. And it's equivalent to music sculpting to me. I'm not quite sure what that sculpture is going to look like at the end. I've got a lump of clay and I start with a musical theme and then I kind of move it along to a lyrical theme, and eventually it takes shape and comes to a unified whole, but then it's never finished because then I've got to take it and I've got to take it, record it, add the other different instrumentation to it and the dynamics to go with it. So there's a lot on the first part. Now, for my private life, my private life is now merged with my musical life. Before, I was a team builder. I ran a lot of different companies globally in the lighting industry. So I would travel Asia, Europe, everywhere to all the different lighting factories at the time around the world. And in the United States, I had to build the complete support team for the import and redistribution into the United States. So, and all the marketing and everything that goes with it. So a lot of that experience, which I had from business, I'm applying to music, and everything is kind of intertwined. There really isn't a private life, the work life and your music life and everything. It's all it all comes together. And I think there's something about oneness or wholeness that goes with unity. Maybe the other word is balance, but I think your whole life has to have that type of balance to it. Otherwise, you're going to go crazy. How's that for an answer?
That's a great answer.
Putting me on the spot, but it's the best I could do.
In the movie New York, New York, Robert De Niro refers to this as the triple chord, where all of those elements of your life just come together, and it's that triple chord. Goldie, when you're having a good day, what is the one habit that tends to be part of that day? And is it part of your daily habits?
Richard, you always ask these questions.
Better you than me.
Well, first of all, waking up is always good. Good way to start. I always say every day I wake up to bitch about something, it's a good day. Actually, I have found that productive activity, is what makes me happy, keeps me strong, both physically and mentally, emotionally. And when you talk about unity, being with other people, really sharing time with people. And sometimes that's a one-on-one when I go down to PPI and I'm in the studio with Chip Fabrizi working on my recordings. It can be one of the collaborative meetings with Jamie and or Dan. It can be going to someone's show. I really love seeing what other people are doing, seeing who's out there who's new. 2 examples. When I see a good show, it energizes me. It inspires me.
Mhm.
2 things I saw this week that were really that way. Susie Mosier's The Lineup, which is now Green Room 42, an amazing array of talent. And Susie Mosier is just this major force. She's a dynamo. She's
I love you, Susie.
insane.
If you're watching, come on.
Insane in the best way. And last night saw somebody very new on the scene, Debbie Toney, whom I had seen just do a one-off in a class situation. This girl took the stage and was brilliant, had it all, and really inspired me and made me so happy and she's not a spring chicken. She's our age. But this is her first cabaret show, venturing into cabaret. And it's so good to see new blood coming into the community. And so these are the things that keep me happy. I don't want to sit home and knit a sweater. I want to be out there living my life. You know, Mariann, you said you're 77. God bless you, girl. You look nothing like anywhere near even your 70s. And white is right, you know.
Oh.
But in all honesty, none of us look the way our generation felt our parents looked. None of us, all of us are living a much more vital, interactive, involved life than I think our parents tended to do when they were, my parents never even made it to my age, but actually elders. So I think that in general, I'm 70. I feel great about it. I used to do the I'm fudging because of the ageism thing, but it got to a point. You know what? I've earned every darn year, and I'm proud of it, and I own it. And I think that is what keeps me going. Just staying involved in life, not just my own life, in other people, in the community. That is so important, to have a community of people that you can relate to and share things with, and be there for each other, and be in a safe, positive place where there isn't all of this fractioning off of people and dissension. It really, that's what makes my life happy.
That's great. And my takeaway is the daily habit is being involved. That's very good. So, Mary, what advice would you give to an emerging artist struggling to find or maintain unity in their creative expression?
I would probably say that, first of all, try not to compare yourself to others, because we're all different. We all have different ways of sharing what we have. I mean, we all have something special. So, I mean, for a long time, I found that I wish I had that talent. Or I wish I could be like that person. And that just takes away from what you have to offer. So I eventually would just look at and appreciate people and appreciate the talents, learn from them, and then just develop what I could provide, and just accept it and just enjoy it. But I'm sorry, what was the question again? I wanted to veer
No,
off.
what advice that you would give to an emerging artist who is struggling to find or maintain unity in their creative expression?
Okay, so pretty much that aspect is try not to compare to others and think that you want to be like that person. Appreciate it, learn from it, but be yourself. And then also remember that it's not all about you. Of course, you want to enjoy and appreciate and have fun at what you do, but also remember that it takes a village. When you're including other people in your creativity, remember that it's a team, that you want to work together. Anytime that you see any kind of an orchestra, a show, a production, and it comes off like there's nothing happening, there's nothing happening, that it actually comes out without a hit, just because people have worked together so that it comes off in a good way. it's just really the best way to approach something is to just say, be open, try things out, and keep the egos aside.
That's great. And I'm going to go back to what Mariann and I talked about at the very beginning. How can we be of service to the community?
Yeah.
I love this story that Leslie Jordan told, that when he arrived in Hollywood as a young, very flamboyantly gay man, he did everything in his power to try to hide this, which was impossible to hide. And then finally, one of his sponsors through AA said, go out and see how you can be of service to others. So when he walked into an audition, he said, how can I give them what they're looking for, instead of trying to hide who I am? And that changed his life. And I think that if we all go with that mindset of that we have something to offer, what do they want? What do they need? I'm here to give it to you. So go from that mindset. Becca, Seth Godin, who is one of my favorite
I love Seth
writers.
Godin.
Oh, you do know him? Oh, I love this. So this is good. I love this quote that I read this week. And the quote is, better waves make better surfers. So the question for you is, are you on the right beach?
I'm not sure. But I'm testing the waters and seeing how things go. And if I'm not, then I will move to a different beach.
Or you'll eventually find the right beach.
I will eventually find the right beach. But I'm keeping myself open to opportunities, and that's what I figured out with all this stuckness that I was in, is that keeping myself open to opportunities and just saying yes. It's the whole yes and thing. Whenever there's an opportunity, keeping myself open and saying yes. I got the wonderful opportunity to sing at Stonewall just a week back, and it was the most wonderful thing in the world. There was such a great audience, and and just these different places, getting these different opportunities to sing different places and everything. It's like, you never know what's going to come out. I just saw this posting and I was like, yes, sure. It was free. And particularly anytime anything's free, because otherwise, most of the time we have to pay lots and lots of money to sing. And so anytime anything's free, it's 10 times better when we get to do that. But yeah, just keeping my eyes open and saying yes because also this variety show came out of, my friend offered me a producer spot for, she had the space available. And again, this was another free thing that I could do. And I was like, well, it's free, no cost to me, no harm, no foul. So why not try it? And all these wonderful comedians and musicians just said yes to me also. And I was so thrilled about that. I was like, these are amazing people who I admire dearly, and they all said yes to coming on my show. And so I was so thrilled about that. And I was like, who knew?
That's great.
Yeah.
Cantor Ebb said it best. Life keeps happening every day. Say yes.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do one more round of questions, and then I'm going to give each of you a chance to have your closing remarks of the day, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But Mariann, can unity in art, and I know the answer to this already, can unity in art help build community or foster social change? And if so, how is your art contributing to that?
Well, I'm a pro-age activist. So everything that I do, let me back it up a little. I actually left my agency representation because, and this was a while back, because he kept submitting me for these roles that I thought denigrated old people. When I was a younger actor, I would turn down roles that I felt denigrated Black people. Now, as an older person, I do the same thing. I don't, you know, age is the last bastion of acceptable discrimination. You know, you can't make fun of Black people or women or any ethnic, but it's still somehow okay to make fun of old people. I'm working really, really hard on changing that paradigm, on changing the narrative about what it means to be old. Um, I, you know, which is why I am who I am. I'm a certain kind of energy. I just, show up and this is me. So when I went through this whole period where the scripts that I got, every single script I got, there was something wrong. She was crippled. She was crazy. She was a curmudgeon. It was always something wrong or something bad about being old. And I worked very, very hard with changing that. And that is how I give service too, because it's not just about me and my generation. It's about the generations that are coming behind us. And as I try to tell young people, when you discriminate against older people, you're discriminating against your future self.
That's right.
And when we had the pandemic and Clubhouse was this audio app that was on, and a lot of people are on Clubhouse. I would go into the rooms that was called the New Hollywood rooms. I would go in there and I would make my pitch. According to a 2017 Federal Reserve survey on consumer finances, women over the age of 50 own 70% of the wealth in this country. So when you do not include a smart, nuanced, complex older woman in your scripts, you're leaving money on the table. And you know what? I got 3 jobs out of that. There were young producers in their 40s who contacted me and said, I heard you. One of them, Gino Brooks, brought me out to California. Another one, Tamika Briscoe, called me up and she said, I have this idea for a movie. And there's this older woman, and she said, who's kind of like, who was the guy on Successions, that Logan, she's a real badass. So we collaborated a little bit. She wanted my ideas she wrote it, but she wanted my ideas on the script. But she hired me, and the movie premiered at Cannes. So at the age of 76, I made my first trip to Cannes, the movie that I was premiering in. So it's never too late, but you have to have the passion and the purpose and the pride in being old, and it pays off. It's not always been easy because some people don't like it. It's always hard when you're trying to change people's minds, but if you do it from love and sincerity and authenticity, you can change minds.
I love that. Thank you for that. Tom, how do you keep your artistic identity cohesive while working across multiple disciplines or genres?
First of all, Mariann's a tough act to follow.
Well,
Really?
I'll tell you something, Tom. Years ago, when Carol Channing first went to Las Vegas, the biggest star in Vegas when she arrived was Jimmy Durante. And he was doing a show at 4:00 in the morning and packing them in. And she said, and no one wanted to follow him. And Carol Channing said, I'll follow him because all I have to do is step into the love.
Oh,
There you
That's all
go.
you have to do.
Wow.
You have to step into the love that Mariann has just laid out.
Wow, that's a great line. I love that.
Yes.
I guess I've been absorbing a lot of different musical styles my whole life growing up. When I was younger, I'm growing up in New York. everything on the radio was thrown into the same bucket. It didn't matter whether it was like folk music or rock music or progressive music or jazz music. They put everything on the same type of WNEW in New York City, for example.
Right.
Oh my God, yes.
On the same station. And so I was absorbing it. Today it's all siloed, but I was absorbing all of this over the years, and I was, switching gears from like America to Jethro Tull to, Bruce Springsteen to Genesis to whatever, right? And so, and I loved it all. And I probably have a room with 10,000 albums and CDs in it where, I think our generation was a hard copy generation. Today that doesn't exist, but everybody that was a boomer probably still likes hard copy, and they're keeping this industry afloat, right? But
Yeah.
nevertheless, because of all of that, I like writing in all of these different styles, and I'm a story writer, by the way. I like telling stories. It just there's too many baby, baby, I love you, let's dance type of songs. Not that they're bad, but I want to go in a different direction. So I kind of like to write these 3-act mini plays where there's a big twist at the end that you don't see coming. And that's kind of I get a lot of love out of doing stuff like that. It's funny. I have this new album coming out, and it's called Ciurczak. And I would say 19 out of 20 people have no idea who Ciurczak is. And I'm thinking to myself, uh-oh, I went too deep again. Like, did any of you guys take Shakespeare in high school at all? And I'm getting answers like, well, I was raised in a cult. So I have to let it go with that. But anyways, somebody made a comment earlier about I'm not going to lay back and start knitting at 70 years old, right? I think it was Goldie, and it just jogged my brain because I've been telling everybody I'm choosing rock and roll over rocking chair, and so
I do too.
no. And I look out there and I went and saw the Rolling Stones this last summer, and I'm thinking to myself, Keith Richards is the canary in the coal mine. As long as that guy is still going, there's hope for all of us.
That's great. That's great. Goldie, have you ever intentionally disrupted unity in your work to make a statement or provoke a certain thought? And if so, what was the outcome?
Yes. In 2023, I did a cabaret show called Bridges. The concept was,
which I saw.
Yes, well, you're everywhere, and Richard. Well, okay, I'll say this afterwards, but and that was done with Jamie Beeman as director, and we did it with Michael Roberts as music director. And the concept of Bridges was that in the 60s, the mid to late 60s, we had all this social unrest and racial disharmony and political nonsense going on, and women fighting for rights, Roe v. Wade and all of that. I was, like a young teenager, just starting to come of age in that, and was more or less a spectator in it, not as involved personally. But I saw everything going on. I appreciated what was going on. Now, 50 years later, as a woman who has lived a life, it seems like not only are we going through the same things all over again, but we have regressed. And so I felt I needed to say something about this situation and what I felt, but I didn't want to hit people over the head with a hammer. I didn't want it to be political. I wanted it to be sociological. From my own experiential. And we were talking, you talk about the collaboration and the process, and Michael and Jamie and I going through the song after, and no, this wasn't right for this. And Michael just all of a sudden said, well, why don't I just write you a song? And it was like, yeah. And we talked about and for me, it had to be about what was happening to women's rights and women and freedom, not just specifically for women because of I'm a woman, but it had to incorporate everyone everyone who's being disenfranchised and told you have to fit into a mold. You can't be this, you can't be that, and you are going to be structured to our way. And Michael wrote a song called This Is Mine. And the first verse basically said, this is mine, my heart, and my emotion. It talked about my physical being. You can't control my physical being. The second verse spoke about my mind. You can't control my thoughts. I will be free to say and speak my truth. And the bridge basically said, you might not agree with me, and that's fine. Do what works for you. And the last verse talked about, this is my heart, my soul. I will love whom I love. And everyone is free to love who you love. Love is love. It doesn't matter whom it's shared with or how you express it. Love is love. And that became the high point of the show. And for me, I always grew up being the good little girl. Put me inside a system. I can work within the system. I color within the lines. And this was, for me, the first time that I really felt the need to step outside of that box and express something that was so vitally important. And so that's what comes to mind for that. And
that was great.
That was a big step for me.
Yes, and it was a great show. Mary,
you.
We've got a little over, so we're going to try to wrap things up in a few moments. In what ways does your art, your artistic voice, act as a thread of unity through everything that you create? Your voice.
You want the alto version or the soprano version? Basically, I think part of it is what my personality in general that seems to flow throughout, as we were talking through with everybody was sharing. And a constant for me, I think, is the motherly teaching aspect and everything that I do. So when I provide that, for example, Mariann, you might appreciate this. I'm part of a senior community theater program. And I pretty much help a lot of them feel more comfortable about just performing as for whatever they can do. They don't have to be pros, just enjoy the process and help them with their steps, just to the point that they feel like that they're moving, anything that can help them with to make them feel comfortable in their own skin. So I think part of that is just making people feel comfortable in any aspect for what they can do without feeling like that they have to be the best that there is in comparison to top performers.
That's
in
wonderful.
anything.
Thank you for that.
Sure.
And Becca, how do you reconcile personal expression with audience expectations while still keeping your work unified?
Well, I've learned to not worry about audience expectations. I'm not everyone's cup of tea. And you either like me or you don't. And particularly for those who saw my If You Hadn't But You Did show, that show was definitely controversial.
It was wonderful.
Well, some people thought it was wonderful. Some people thought I had to go, oh my stars, afterwards.
You pushed the boundaries and you committed 110%.
Yes, but putting BDSM and the Great American Songbook together, what was controversial for some people. So I know that I'm not always going to be everyone's cup of tea, but I'm going to express myself and be me. And part of, And the wonderful thing about that show really gave me the confidence to completely accept that. I mean, of all the shows, it completely told me, yes, it's okay to completely be me. And actually in that show to say, I'm going to be fully committed to whatever I'm doing, and just be fully in the performance. And as long as I'm fully in the performance and loving what I'm doing, which, I mean, stage is my happy place, and you can join me on this journey or not. And if you don't want to join me on this journey, don't come to my show.
Well,
Go to another show. There's plenty of shows that'll give you the happy little sunshine, Great American Songbook, normal things.
wow. Well, what somebody is normal for somebody else may not be normal for you, and vice versa.
Yes.
I love each and every one of you, and I love what each of you bring to the table. Can you imagine a dinner party with all of us together? It would be great. I would love
What
that.
time?
Yes, in time.
I'll make the salad.
Yes.
I'll bring the wine.
Well, here we go. We're getting started
I'll cook
already.
the main dinner.
I'll do dessert.
And I love to cook as well. I want to let you all know, if you're around tomorrow at 12 o'clock, Foster Hirsch, who is a Broadway theater historian, is going to be interviewing me about my upcoming show. And when I reached out to him to see if it would be something that he would be interested in, he said, yes, but I don't have a platform. And I said, I do. Come on mine. So this is going to happen tomorrow night afternoon. So 12 o'clock, it will be live. Excuse me, please tune in and join us. I want to go back to what Becca said, and I'm going to give you each a chance to have your final word. I'm going to say my little end story, and then I'm going to pick someone. And when you finish, you'll pick the next person, and so on. And when the last person says goodbye, don't worry, I know how to end the show, so I'll take care of that. But I want to go back. I know I talk a lot about Carol Channing, but she was a mentor of mine. And I learned a lot from her. And we were having a conversation one afternoon, and I was telling her about something that it was written about me that I was very upset about. And she told me that when she opened in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes on Broadway, she was the toast of Broadway. She was on the cover of Time magazine. She was on the cover of Life magazine at the same time. And everybody was loving her. She was the toast of Broadway. Except for Dorothy Kilgallen, who was a very well-known critic and columnist at the time, absolutely hated Carol in the show. Said, I don't get her. She's not funny. They should call the show Gentlemen Prefer Amazons, because she's like a bull in a china shop. She's absolutely awful. And it began to affect her performance. And she was beginning to believe what Dorothy Kilgallen had said to her. Anita Luce, who wrote Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, came backstage one night and said, what's going on? And she said, what if the audience begins to believe what this one person thought? And Carol said, for every person who likes you, there are an equal number who don't. Just know that the people who are in that house are there because they've invested their time, their money, and their energy to support you. No one shows up to dislike you. So let's celebrate those audience members that do show up. I end all of my shows with the same message, and that's to go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything in return. All of you get email. When you are next checking your emails, the fifth name that pops up that you actually know, rather than responding with an email, respond with a phone call. And let that person know how they've made a difference in your life, if they are indeed making a difference in your life, or just say, I'm just picking up the phone to call you to see how you're doing. And by doing so, you're going to make a difference in their lives. I have a dear friend, Sean Moninger, and he says we're all in the same storm, but we're in different size boats. And I always say, I don't care what size boat you're on, as long as you've got a skipper by your side. And with that, I'm going to leave the screen, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Becca. And when you finish, you'll pick the next person. Thank you all, and go out and unify with each other this week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
I'm not sure exactly what I'm supposed to say here, but it's been wonderful being with all of you folks, and just keep supporting each other and being there for each other. And I appreciate all of you lifting each other up. And just one more plug, save the date, May 4th, 2026, my album release for my 50th birthday. But you guys are all so special, and always remember that you are special, and age, it really is just a number.
Thanks, Becca.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Who did she choose?
I choose Mariann.
Oh, okay. Okay. This is really profane, but if they can't take a joke, fuck them.
I agree.
That's
I
it.
agree wholeheartedly.
That's it. And Goldie, it's on you.
Oh, okay. Well,
Bye.
bye. But it's all right if you hang with us still.
I'm still okay. Well,
that's all right. If Richard doesn't take you off, then you're with us. That's fine. Okay, so I did want to say a couple of things. First of all, this has been really delightful. What a wonderful group of people to share this hour with. It's turning into a Jewish hour, which is a little more than we don't get so long. But Richard is one of the most supportive people that I have ever known. And he shoots from the hip. It's always what he feels. I appreciate that. That's how I like to roll as well. And I do, rather than plug my June 3rd show, which is coming up, I would really like to say that I was privileged enough to see Richard's upcoming show, the preview of his upcoming show, and he did it at Salmagundi, and it is something really special. I cannot wait to see this as it has developed now when he does it on the 30th of this month at the new Laurie Beachman. So I am very excited, and I really would encourage anyone, if you don't have a ticket already, come. This is Richard doing what Richard does best. And it's impromptu. You never know what's going to happen. And it's a hoot and a half, and it's wonderful. So I would like to end on that note. I really have enjoyed sharing this time with all of you. And we're going to leave you for last time. We're going to go to Mary now.
Oh,
Okay.
thanks, Goldie. Hi. So first of all, thank you so much, Richard, for having me. And it was great meeting Tom and Mariann and seeing the others as well. And I guess all I'd like to really share is just that in thinking about unities, and people in the arts bring various people together in various ways, whether it's celebration, political, informational, and who some people may appreciate it, some people may not, whatever. The point is, if you're sharing and giving the information, whether it through our art, if you're influencing or helping out or reaching at least one person, that's better than nothing. And it reminds me of the old starfish story where a lot of starfish come to the sea, and one person was trying to throw in all the starfish and he just couldn't do it. It says, if you just throw in one back into the sea, you've helped at least one person. So that's what I'd like to share for today. And Tom, that's the name of my brother as well. So take it away.
Hey, first of all, thank you, Richard, for inviting me on today. Wow, I wasn't really knowing what to expect. I Googled everybody before I came on because I wanted to understand everybody's background. And wow, what an impressive group of people on the show today. And I'm really honored that I was included with everybody. Again, thank you very much. Enjoyed it. I do have a new album coming out end of June, June 27th. And if you're here in Southern California, where I am in Orange County, I've got 3 or 4 different album release shows coming up. And you can find them on my website. The only problem is you got to be able to spell my name, which is not so simple, but it should be on the data here. Anyways, that's it. Thanks again. See you soon.